Today we go into the next week, week 5 of our learning journey. In week 4, we saw that as the customer or a prospect opens up to the sales professional's vision of the future, the conversation transitions from denial to disagreement and then to discomfort. Denial, of course, is a very emotional resistance to a certain idea or to a certain perspective. Disagreement is more of a logical resistance to that same idea or perspective, and it is in discomfort that we begin to understand or begin to become receptive towards the new perspective that is being offered. They are very similar. There is a lot of overlap between the two, but the language that is used during the conversation, the words that the prospect chooses to communicate will tell you whether the prospect is still in the denial mode or whether the prospect has moved on to the disagreement. So week 5 we talk about how do you identify those behaviors which tell you whether the prospect is in denial mode or whether the prospect has moved on to the disagreement mode, and what are the indicators which tells you that the prospect is transitioning from the denial to disagreement. This is very important because often it so happens that the customer has, or in the conversation, the sales prospect, your prospect has moved on from denial to disagreement, but our conversation, the way we as sales professionals are pitching ourselves, the product, we are still trying to address the denial mode, whereas the prospect has moved into the disagreement zone. Similarly, when it's in a disagreement mode, how do you notice that the customer is coming into a discomfort zone? How do you know that the customer is no longer disagreeing with you, but rather they're getting uncomfortable, feeling a lot of discomfort, imagining the consequences or which your product or service or perspective is leading them to? So week 5, we focus our attention into understanding, how to identify whether a conversation is in the denial zone or whether the conversation has moved into the disagreement zone. What are the signals that would indicate the prospect is still stuck in one zone?